Just want to thank CrokinoleGameBoards.com for sponsoring this Crokinole Happy Hour series. They're a small, family-run operation, well known for their board making, but they always want to contribute back into the Crokinole community. They love doing that, so thank you to them. Please go check them out, CrokinoleGameBoards.com. Top of the line tournament boards and accessories. If you want to get into competitive Crokinole, this is what all the top players use, are these boards right here. They run a great site, absolutely great customer service. It's just not going to get, you're not going to beat it. Very much into the Crokinole community as well. And they also got to go check out their YouTube channel. They have a treasure trove full of information, a lot of tips, skills. They go over the rules. That's Crokinole Game Boards on YouTube, so check them out as well. They also make all the boards for the World Crokinole Championship, so that's the best quality you're going to get. CrokinoleGameBoards.com, handcrafted by players for players. Tonight on the Crokinole Happy Hour, not only do we have a ridiculous competitive Crokinole player with 10 total tournament wins, to name a few. He's a 2013 Belleville champion. He's a 2017 Turtle Island champion. And a 2017 World Doubles champion. And on top of his play, he is also the founder of the popular Crokinole channel on YouTube, CrokinoleCentre, along with his website. His coverage of competitive Crokinole is the absolute best. And if you're like me, and you discovered the game of Crokinole through YouTube, chances are it's probably one of his videos. So you guys know what to do. Go grab a drink, come back, sit down, and let's hang out with Mr. Nathan Walsh. All right, thanks for joining in this Crokinole Happy Hour. I want to thank Nathan Walsh for joining us. Thanks, Nathan. How you doing?
Oh, really good. How about you?
Pretty good, buddy. So, I mean, I'm sure you know the deal now, right? So it is happy hour. So what are you bringing to the table for
Yeah, I
this
saw the other guys that have been on went very local, but I haven't been out in a while, so I'm like reaching into my alcohol cabinet. So I'm drinking Canadian Club whiskey mixed with Coke.
Dude, Canadian Club, let me tell you a little story about that. My family has a club within our family, and we call it the ABC NBC Club. And it started through my grandfather, and he used to do a toast to the club after every family event. It was basically for him. My grandmother was telling him to come on, we have to go home now, and he's like, one more toast to the club. And that's how it all started. But we always had Canadian. He always had Canadian Club for everybody. So that's crazy how you got the C&C smoothie over there.
Yeah, I don't have a very eclectic alcohol taste, but I'm glad I picked a good one anyway.
Oh yeah, dude, Canadian Club's great, man. I love that taste. But I am joining you. I am drinking a bourbon as well. This
Nice.
is Buffalo Trace, one of my very favorite bourbons. So cheers to you, sir. And
Cheers.
Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. So
I had nothing else going on, so.
Yeah, right? So how is it all how's it going for you tonight?
It's
Or
fine, yeah.
not tonight, the whole lockdown thing. How's it going?
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's fine. Like, I'm fortunate. I still get to work from home. And I live alone too, so I can isolate pretty easily. So yeah, just making the most of it, trying to pick up some new skills, which is generally just watching more TV. But yeah, it's not so bad.
What type of skills?
I just been picking up I tried to learn guitar a few years ago, but never actually invested time into it. So trying to do a little bit more, and then that's really the main thing, because I got to say all the other initiatives haven't got very far. It's mostly just watching TV.
How is the guitar playing coming?
Where
are you at? What song? What song? Can you play a song yet, or are you aiming towards playing a certain song?
I think I wanted to initially when I first got the guitar. Like, I wanted to learn all these like sort of folk rock or alternative rock songs, but hasn't come out like that. And yeah, some artists that I would like to play their songs, but certainly not anywhere near that point yet.
Did you envision you like walking into a bar or tavern and like just like getting up on stage and just showing everybody all of a sudden that Nathan Walsh can like just jam and like,
No, I don't.
out?
I don't think my singing voice is there. So, and I know it's not there. So yeah, I don't have an aspiration for singing or playing the guitar in front of an audience.
Well, after a few Canadian clubs, you never know, right?
Yeah, maybe a few more of them. Yeah.
So my daughter just snuck in here. You want to say hello? This is my daughter Genevieve. That's Mr. Walsh. Say hello.
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 All right. Is it time for bed for you, sweetie?
Yeah.
All right.
And take a watch. Crokinole.
Okay. All right. All right. We'll see you, sweetie. Yeah. So there's my daughter. She walks into the garage. Where was I? Yeah, you were singing in the pub, right? So.
Yeah, unlikely.
So you seem to be a very young guy, and you seem to be in Crokinole for a long time. How long have you been around the game competitively, and has it been there through your whole young life so far?
Almost. Yeah, I started when I was 12, and I started because there was a documentary, like a very short, like 7-minute documentary on TV, on this public TV station in Canada called TVO, and they did like a 7-minute short on the World Crokinole Championships in 2004. And as we're watching it, my dad says, "Oh yeah, I know that guy," and he was referring to Joe Fulop, who won that year and was like sort of somewhat centered in like this 7-minute short. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. And then realizing too that this world championships that they were playing was only like a 15-minute drive from our place. So shortly after that, I wanted to get into it. That's when I found out about it, and then started to try to practice more and enter tournaments. There wasn't too many at the time, but yeah, basically from age 12 that I got interested in like the competitive side of it.
See, like I'm learning this a lot from talking to all you guys. And I thought like Canadians were just issued a board when they're born. Like, okay, here's your baby boy and here's your Crokinole board, like go home. But apparently that's not the case. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, we had one. I think it was an aunt and uncle that would have given us a board that probably when I was like 6 for Christmas. And we definitely played it. But other than just like playing it against my brothers, we didn't try to or even think that there was other people out there that were playing it. So it was eye-opening to find out that there was this competitive landscape once we figured that out.
All right, so you got into the competitive Crokinole around 12, 13, and you went into the World Crokinole. What was your first tournament?
Yeah, it would have been the World Championships in like 2005.
And that was intermediate?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so what ages are those?
11 to 14.
Okay. And did you take that down or right away, or did you?
Not in the first year. No, in the first year, I know I missed the playoffs. Like usually at the time anyway, it was the top 6 would advance. And I think I recall finishing like 7th out of 20. I think I missed it by a point actually the first year. So advancing to the playoffs.
Nice. So that just fuel your fire to stick with it?
Yeah. I mean, so I should mention that like, my dad ended up teaching with this Joe Fulop, who was obviously at the time like well regarded as the best player in the game, and that he came to our house once my dad just mentioned that myself and then one of my brothers as well was interested in playing Crokinole, and Joe Fulop offered to come by our house and like show us some like tricks, so some certain like trick shots, which have now become very obvious, but certainly at the time being introduced to the game were just completely mind-blowing. And then that meeting is what said like, yeah, I want to get really good at this game.
So what tricks exactly did he show you that got you super intrigued about it?
I mean, I guess this was like 15 years ago, but I do distinctly recall him setting up like a disc on the far side in between the pegs so that he didn't need multiple tries. It was just he took it out, rebound off a peg, and bounce back into the 20 hole. And I was like, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I'm sure he showed us like tons of stuff, but like that one is imprinted into my brain that I can still remember that.
That was interesting, like, yeah, when someone shows you something other than just like a normal, like, takeout or something, like the follow through shot or follow through 20, or like that rebound off the post, like it does oh, there's more to this game, you know what I mean? And then you start getting into the weeds, and yeah, so that's Joel Fulop. That's what Ray Beerling's and Jason Beerling's kind of mentor was, him as well. So he's a pretty pivotal figure in that competitive crokinole scene up there.
Yeah, he's certainly like, I mean, he was the guy for like all those years, like late 90s and early 2000s, which is only when I guess I sort of got into the game just when he was at the end. But yeah, I would say, yeah, he's probably pretty influential for a lot of people who would have started playing like late 90s and early 2000s.
That's awesome, man. That's cool that there's like people out there that, where before you got, you and all the players that are high up ranking now, and, and it's keep carrying on. And you're a big part of exposing the game to many people. You are the creator of your YouTube channel, CrokinoleCentre, with over 10,000 subscribers. So how do you feel about how large that channel got so fast?
I don't know if it was fast at all, but it's,
how long you been up there for?
I think, well, I think I've been running it for 11 years.
All right,
so
never
yeah,
mind. I take that back. Not that fast.
Although it has grown fast in the last couple of years, yes.
Okay. So when did that uptick start? So the last couple of years, and
yeah.
All right. So you think that the suggestions in YouTube kind of like just fed a little quicker then because you got more views from your older videos, or did the quality of the videos just get much better?
Well, the quality has definitely gotten better, but it doesn't seem like it really matched in that way that it would sort of be that you would need high quality to lead to more views. Yeah, it's just been odd. Like sometimes if I look at the statistics for some of the videos, like you'll get a whole bunch of views just from one particular country where there isn't really even that much crokinole that we know of going on. Like I recall like the first sort of big spike was from India. I thought maybe there's a bunch of Karam players there that are watching crokinole. But then I've also seen like you get random spike from Russia, and it's like, I haven't heard of any Russian players. So I don't know if there's much of a rhyme or reason to most of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's India, that's the Karam thing. Because that's how I saw the video, was through disc golf, and then it suggested Karam that had discs in them. I'm like, oh, this game's cool. And then I saw that crazy game with the pegs in the middle of the board, and I'm like, what the hell is this? So I'm pretty damn sure it was one of your videos. And then it was all over from there. So, and honestly, on behalf of my club, everyone in my club, like you are the reason why we discovered this game. And we just want to thank you so much for putting in your effort and passion to the game to get it out there on YouTube, dude. So thank you so much. You brought us a lot of joy through your exposure. So well, I have to drink to you for that one, man, because
I appreciate the comment. I almost can't deal with that much of the compliment all at once.
Well, dude, I mean, like it's true. Like you are the guy who put forth the effort to get crokinole out there, right? I don't see any other, maybe like, maybe a review on the game or something here or there, but that was after you know what I mean? So that's how I feel about it, at least. But it's competitive too. You're covering the competitive side, the best of the best. Like this is like what level is the top. So everyone knows what, the benchmark is for being, a great crokinole player. Everyone can sit at home, drink a few drinks with their family and friends, and like, yeah, I'm the best player here. But like, okay, well, let's see where the top bar is. And you provided that. So Was that a vision that you had from the beginning, something like that, or was it just like I'm just going to record these matches because I love it so much?
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, initially all I wanted to do was just record them so I could watch them again. And that was it. Like, I remember being somewhat annoyed. Like, I think the first year when I recorded it, like, I think I was 15. And I remember being somewhat annoyed that I couldn't go back and watch like older matches. Like, I couldn't see how so-and-so won the world championships in a previous year. So yeah, it was really just for my own personal benefit. And then it sort of grew from there that you got to a certain point where other players mentioned that they, liked the video or wanted to see, like, especially if they played in a match and won it, they wanted to see that video get posted online. So it sort of grew from just me to then recognizing there was other competitive players that were interested in it. And then I still didn't really think, though, that other people who have no basis in the game before would have been interested in watching it. I just kind of thought it would be people who are at least familiar with Crokinole would be interested in it, but that it wouldn't really garner much interest outside of people who weren't already familiar with the game. So yeah, it's definitely, by this point, is grown much larger than I thought it would have like 10, 11 years ago.
Are you waiting for the call for ESPN, the Ocho or something?
I mean, at this point, I'm surprised it hasn't already happened, because I see that every year when it says ESPN, the Ocho, and they do whatever 24 hours of weird competitions, that it hasn't already happened. So maybe it'll never happen at this point.
There's like that, dude, like this, there on the Ocho, I saw something where there was like a national electricians tournament. Like they had to like wire they had like all these pine studs and they had to wire like a house in this amount of time. I'm like, if people are watching this or they're putting that up, Crokinole is like leaps and bounds above that and all the other shit they got up there. You know what I mean? So I really am surprised they haven't gave you a call, but I really think that day is coming soon.
Well, that would be interesting if and when it does happen. But it is interesting, though, like even a couple of years ago, people would still tell me to my face that Crokinole is not a spectator sport. And in a way, it's not. Like, if you give somebody absolutely no context and just show them a video and it doesn't have a scoreboard or any of the rules, which is how most people would see a video on YouTube if they don't have familiarity with Crokinole, then yeah, it's not going to be a spectator sport. But hopefully there's parts of like video editing you can add that allow people a little bit more familiarity so they can get into the game a little bit faster.
Well, that goes with any sport, right? Like,
yeah.
If someone from, I don't know, Scandinavia saw like an American football game, they're like, what the hell's going on here? Like they wouldn't be interested, but like, and I'm not calling Crokinole a sport either. It's a really awesome game, a very strategic game. But yeah, so, you are the vanguard of, the YouTube section of Crokinole, that's for sure. And were you a world champion at one point?
Not in the like singles adult division. Won in like the doubles with Claire Kipfer in 2017. But yeah, not the top level singles.
So I heard about you in doubles, and you feel that singles is the more pure version of the game?
Where did you get that from?
I got my sources.
Yeah, I probably would have said that eventually, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. Doubles is pretty good too. So
let me read it. Let me read it verbatim here. Let's see. It is a head-to-head competition, literally with no partner to rely on. It is as much a battle with yourself as it is against your opponent. The most deserving player will come away with the victory. That was your question against singles or doubles, which you prefer, I should say. Not like you're not bashing on the doubles, but
yeah,
that's what
I recall that quote now. That's from Crokinole Depot's website, I believe.
That's correct.
Which I think is like a 9-year-old quote by now, but yeah, I would say that still holds up. Except, yeah, like I definitely value like the doubles game. It's pretty fun. There's a lot more strategy to doubles, which in some aspects makes it much more interesting, or makes it interesting in a different way. And then, but yeah, if I wanted to pick like a world championship to win, I'd much rather win the singles because
Because
there's
it's easier to win singles, right? That's what you're saying.
much harder to win singles for sure.
Okay, you think so?
Yeah,
I think it's harder to win a doubles match. To be honest with you.
depends how good your partner is, I guess. So
Well, there's a variable, right? And then it's harder to hide discs on see, we're a doubles club, so that's why, I'm hard on the doubles game. But yeah, so all right, so you feel singles is the most pure form of the game.
yeah, now I'm worried about what our definition of pure is, but in terms of like, it is the best way to quantify which player
when
is
someone
better.
says, "Hey, do you want to go play Crokinole?" What are you visioning right away? Are you figuring right against this person that asked you, or are you?
Sure, yeah.
I don't
If it was
know.
one
I mean,
person that
like
asked me.
Oh,
Yeah, I would say
man.
definitely if it's singles, it's the best way to tell which player is better. But yeah, I do enjoy like the parts of doubles that allow for more strategy to come into play. And I do like as well the camaraderie that builds up in a partnership after a few years as well. Like I definitely value that a lot more now than I used to.
Yeah, that's what the game's all about too, is bringing people together.
Mhm.
But the game itself, though, doubles, you think singles provides more? You have to have more strength playing singles than you do doubles.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
I would say like doubles is more all around game, maybe. But
Which makes it, right, a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm just screwing with you, man. But yeah, dude. So you have, and you also run a website, CrokinoleCentre, as well. And there's a lot of blogs on there, right? And you write a lot of nice articles. And I know you have a co-writer too of Andrew Hutchison. Is that correct?
yeah, he chips in every now and then.
So on top of you covering on YouTube, like visually, you also write, the articles to the Crokinole community, and you keep all these logs and records, and what prompted you to start doing all that?
I would say like almost none of the ideas that I've started have been my ideas personally. They've typically been somebody else's idea, and then they just haven't done it after a while. So I've just went ahead and done it. So I don't recall who it was that said like we should have articles after like tournaments, but it was definitely not my idea initially. And then I just decided I was going to do it one day. And sort of the same thing with like keeping a record book and a glossary, also not my idea initially, but I just thought, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, it just felt like, hey, somebody's got to write it down. Otherwise no one will.
Who was the steward before you?
Oh, I don't know well, it would have been the Beerlings would have done some stuff. They had like it's still on their website, like this Crokinole Post, which they have done every year, I think since like 2007. So that would have predated some of my stuff. And now if you look at the Crokinole Post, a lot of it is sourced from my material. But prior to them doing that, I don't think there would have been anything really that would have written down like
Besides
information
the
about
World or
competitive
something?
Crokinole. Yeah.
Like the World Tournament probably had. Wow, shit. That was, when did the World start?
99.
99. Okay. So that was.
I mean, they have the gentleman in Tavistock, Bill Gladding, runs the Tavistock Gazette, like the local newspaper. So he has like a nice write up every year of the World Championships. But yeah, outside of that, there's nothing that's been around a long time that's been writing about Crokinole competitively.
When did the NCAA start?
2009.
How were you a big part of that?
No, I was just along for the ride really at the start. It would have been mostly like Greg Matheson, Brian Cook, Eric Miltenberg. I think Ray Beerling was a pretty big part of it too. But yeah, I was just there as like a young kid initially, and then I've sort of taken on more responsibility later.
So you were turning some heads though on your play though, right? You were kind of like, you were doing well in your younger years. Is that correct?
Yeah, I had a couple like good results, which sort of stood out because I think I had a few like surprising results, but I was never really like sustained like super high up there. It was definitely like the game was dominated in those early years by like Brian Cook, Ray Beerling, and Justin Slater.
Yeah, I hear those guys' names all the time. So, and you did go on a roll there for a little bit, didn't you? When did you start picking up steam?
I think I've had two different stretches that have been like pretty good, like 2013, 2014, and 2016, 2017 were pretty good. So where I was strung together like a couple of tournaments where I was either winning or finishing in like the top 2 or 3.
Okay. What is so how do you react on a final table? I know I ask other guys, what's the final table like? And does the final table pressure affect you at all, or?
Yeah, definitely. I think I haven't quantified this, but I think I might be the worst one when it comes down to final tables. Like, my record in like singles finals is not very good at all. So the pressure definitely gets to me. Like, yeah, it's hard to like just shoot properly once you get into those situations, I find. And some guys can handle the nerves pretty well. And for me, like, I might start a match pretty good, but at some point during the match, I'm going to get like pretty nervous, and it's probably pretty obvious to all the people watching it too that I'm getting nervous.
Like, what do you feel? Do you feel like people watching you or your own cameras? Like, it's like, oh shit, people are gonna watch this later, or what?
Yeah,
what
actually, I have
bothers
had
you?
that.
What gets to you?
I've had that fear before where I'm like, man, like I'm going to have to edit this video later and other people will see me make this mistake. Not so much like, yeah, it's people watching me that right then doesn't bother me so much, but knowing that it's being recorded by me, it kind of bothers me.
But you have the power to edit that shit because when I was doing little things for my club on YouTube, I was always like, yeah, I missed that shot there, but I wouldn't mess with the whole match coverage, but I would like for highlights or for doing a certain thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm not gonna put that one in there. I'm gonna put me making this crazy 20 in there or something. So you have the power, Nathan.
Yeah.
No, you can't do that you can't skip over a whole like segment of shots and like, oh, this is what happened, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I try not to do that anyway.
Well, it's tempting, isn't it?
Yeah, sometimes
I can just do it with this little thing. So, have you grown in your video editing skills throughout this whole thing, or were you pretty versed when you started?
Oh, I had like no skills when I started, and everything's been basically on trial and error. Like, so especially if you go back to certain videos, like you can see like all these mistakes, but done it enough times that hopefully you get better anyway. So try to add like little things here and there, try to make the quality like slightly better. I would say probably now I'm out of ideas for making the quality any better, but at least it's a lot better now than it was a few years ago.
I know a lot of people want to know, especially me, that your scoring software that you got in the corner. Did you develop that, or is that something that was just out there? Yeah, you don't have to give away your secrets or anything. But.
Well, I'll give it away because I don't think anybody will hear this and think, oh, I got to do that. Yeah, mine's like a combination of like a very like janky like Excel macro and then a PowerPoint macro that like I sort of load in like thousands of lines of scoreboard details into a PowerPoint macro that then auto generates. Like,
what the hell are you even talking about, dude?
Yeah, so it's not great. That is actually one thing I'll mention though, that during this quarantine stuff, I've been trying to do like a little bit of coding in JavaScript that would actually create that scoreboard, and then I could potentially sort of release that, and then anybody could use it if they needed to. But hey, we'll need to be in quarantine for a few more months for me to actually get that good to be able to get it to that stage.
I say you charge like $1 or something for it, or whatever we want, and it goes right towards the NCA or something. You know what I mean? Be a good idea to do.
But you guys have one though that I've seen in your videos. How is that run?
No, it's Filmora. I use Filmora, and it's just like I have to take the text, and every shot, like every 20, I have to like pause the video, start a new text line, enter it in, and then go. And it sucks when people are making 20s all the time, because I have to keep on stopping the text, stopping the video, creating a new one, placing them. You know what I mean? And it's just like, that's why I kind of like stopped, covering our videos. But I'm like, man, what does Nathan have? I want that shit right there.
I mean, I've been in what you described. I've been in exactly that situation. I think like the first 8 years that I was making videos, it was all in iMovie where I was doing the exact same trick, where it's like text for however long until the next like 20 comes up. So
which
I've
is
definitely
like
been in that
5 seconds.
position.
Yeah. No, it's, there is a lot of work that goes into it too. People just think, oh, you just record it and you put that shit on there. But no, there's a lot of work, But my inspiration definitely came from you and from, the NCAA guys too. So again, thank you so much. Yeah. So how much equipment do you carry around with you? Like to all these events?
I carry like two cameras and 2 tripods. So one is just a stationary camera, and then like stationary tripod, like handheld camera. So that gets like sort of the angle views like down at sort of the board level. And then I have like another tripod, and then it's literally just like a piece of plastic tubing that like extends into an arm out of the tripod. And then it's like a sort of a knockoff GoPro camera that hangs at the top of this arm, and it points directly down at the camera or at the board. So usually that's enough for like the 2 camera setup. And then thankfully to Jeremy Tracy, who's often lended me his camera, which same deal, like at the board level, that sometimes I can get 3 cameras in on one match.
That's crazy. And then so you edit 3 different films into one?
Right. Yeah. So the first couple of times I was doing that was awful because I was doing it in like programs which aren't built for multi-camera editing. But then I just decided I would buy this editing software called Final Cut, which allows you to do like multi-camera switching like very, very conveniently. So now I can do it as I'm like commentating a video. So like I'll just watch the video live, and I can just with a click of a button switch over to a different camera. So definitely something that I wouldn't be able to do as easily if I hadn't bought that software.
And it records your commentary while you're doing the switching through the, through the different feeds.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So commentating, that is another question there. Do you feel comfortable commentating? Like, does it come naturally to you, or while you do that? Because it seems, you seem very professional while you do it.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, at first, no, because like I would record them with like voiceovers in the editing software, and it would take like so many tries. Like I would sort of be recording them in chunks. Like it'd be like almost 30 seconds at a time. Because then eventually you catch yourself off at a certain point and you think like, oh, that was stupid. I'll redo that part. So recording one video, it would almost take like 20 tries just to do like different sections to feel like okay with how just to feel comfortable with what you were talking about. But now that I've done it enough times, I can sort of just do it in one shot. So it's effectively like I'm doing it live, although in most of the matches that I'm commentating, they're after the fact. So I already know what's going to happen.
And you're there.
Yeah.
Dude, I when I did our matches, I did it live, and I made sure that they heard me. Did you ever, is that one reason why you don't do it like on the day of?
That is basically like the reason why I don't do it on the day of. I think, so I've only done it live twice, and it was at the 2017 and the 2018 World Championships. And there's one point in the 2018 videos that somebody makes a nice shot, and I like say like, oh, great shot. And it just for whatever reason is loud enough that the players on the board heard me and looked over, and I was like, oops, like.
See, I don't give a shit. And that's the best part about, I mean, I am terrible at commentating, but, it's more of like, oh, that guy sucks, while he misses a shot. And they're like, my guys are used to it. So it's fun. But you can't do that when they're in the NCAA, when there's a lot on the line. But you do a great job. And I'm like, man, how does he do it? Because a lot of people think they can do it, and then when you're actually even like sitting down and like making like a video after the fact, it's still hard to like think of stuff, especially when the game's moving so fast, and you have to have the correct terminology, and you have to make sure that you're saying things that people that aren't familiar with Crokinole would know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think and I think eventually, like, you sort of just get the hang of like talking about like certain strategies which you think might be useful to explain. But yeah, after that, I think now I just sort of think about when I watch sports, like what's the things that the commentators say that I don't like, and I just try not to say those.
Like what?
Oh man, any of like this very silly cliches, like sometimes like they're in like a playoff series and they say, "Oh, this is a must-win game," but meanwhile, if they lose, they can win the rest of the series. Like, yeah, okay, if they're down 2-0 in a best of 7,
It's not a
they say,
must-win.
yeah, the third game's a must-win. They always say that. It's like, well, it's not actually. Yeah. So if anything, I try to talk less, or I hope I can talk less.
All right, give me some more. Give me some more of those ones that you think are too cliche. Give me one more.
Anytime they talk about like the mentalities of players that they try to infer based on like how they're playing, if they're like confident or not confident at the time, I always find like really annoying too, just because it's like how you can't possibly know what that player is thinking. So anytime they try to like touch on that stuff for a little bit too long, that's also something that I don't like. I prefer they just talk about what's in front of them and what they can obviously see. And yeah, so I try not to do that in my videos.
Do you ever think about interviewing the players before the finals, like separately, before they go on to the final table?
I definitely have, and that's a great idea. And it's something I've wanted to do, but I found players, for the most part, aren't that interested in.
It doesn't matter, though. It doesn't matter. Say, this is for the better good of Crokinole, and you better sit down and you better answer these questions, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I should say that because that would help out. Yeah. Generally, I think most players, like when they're going down to a final, like some of them don't even like it when I'm taking time to like set up the camera properly, like before the game. So yeah, usually when there's certain times you can tell like people do not want like my cameras pointing at them, and I think they sort of feel the same way about like interviewing too, is that they don't want to say something bad. But yeah, I am thinking like, oh, this would be great content, but not everybody else is thinking like that.
That's too bad, because I think that'll add another layer to the great coverage that you provide. You know what I mean? And people should be on board with it. Just my, silly opinion.
Maybe I should push harder for it. I'm not very persuasive though, is the issue.
Just do it, dude. Come on. Let's have some fun here. We're having fun. But there's there's usually there's some money involved in these tournaments. Is that correct, in the NCAA?
Yeah, a little bit. Not much, but a little bit.
Like, what's the average, winnings for first place?
Well, I would say, unfortunately, you have to ask the winner usually what they got at the end of the day, because it's usually not published for most of the tournaments, other than the World Championships. I don't know, just how they do things, really. I guess a lot of it's variable just on how many people like show up that day, and the clubs are like pretty much giving back all the money that was given in the tournament anyway. But it might be, if you win a tournament, like maybe it's like $200, I think, like winning a singles tournament.
Nice.
Probably around there is what I'm guessing.
That's Canadian money, right?
Yeah, so not that much.
That's my stupid joke I always do. So if you had to put a dollar amount on it, what are your tournament winnings throughout your career, and let's say in the last decade?
Just doing some very quick math. Probably like $2,000, I would think.
Holy shit, that's a lot of money, dude. Well, that's 10 years though, right? So
yeah. Maybe enough to cover all the entry fees over those years.
No, I think you're breaking even there. That's awesome. Speaking of 10 years, you just wrote an article on the best NCAA players in the last decade, and you gave yourself 5th place out of 10.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll get back to that, but like, how did you come about to do that, and how did you rank each player from 10 to 1 in the last 10 years?
So I had a couple other like blogs that were like, reviewing the last decade. So I tried to keep it mostly like quantitative and like very, objective measures that you could look at and say like, this player is better than this player. The idea just came up because I was like just reading sports articles in like December that were doing a whole bunch of like decade in review stuff. And I thought, yeah, I should do that for Crokinole. And then of course, when we don't have as much competitive Crokinole to talk about these days, I was like, yeah, I mean, now I can start doing a little bit more of these. So again, not really an idea that I had out of my own mind, but it was just another idea I stole from just somewhere else.
So how'd you start quantifying that though? Like, how did you start laying out like, okay, here's my field of players. How am I going to narrow it down to top 10 and why?
Yeah. So initially I wanted to do it like top 10 in the entire world. And I actually like went to a lot of effort to find like results from other countries. So like I've dug into like the Hungarian like website, tried to find like all their Crokinole results. And I was like pulling them all in. Same thing with like the Belgian Crokinole championships that I don't think are going on as active anymore, but it was for about 4 years. And then like all the BC stuff, all the stuff in PEI. But then it just became like, I can't quite do like a perfect job with it. So I thought, okay, I'll just stick with the NCA. And then mostly it was like, I could kind of only go off of like the top results. I didn't really think like comparing how many 9th place finishes somebody had with another so a great way to look at it. So thought it'd be a lot easier if I just started to look at like wins, like top 2 finishes or top 4 finishes, and then base it off that. So it's basically just, you know, most of the people with the top wins. So Justin Slater had the most wins in the decade. I think most people would have picked Justin Slater anyway, just off the top of their head. And yeah, just sort of go from there, just looking quantitatively at who had the most of the best finishes throughout the decade.
Yeah, that's pretty cut and dry when you put it like that. Yeah, so you had, what did you have there? I got it down here. You had 10 tournament wins, 21 top 2 finishes, 37 top 4, 7 tournament singles, and 3 NCAA Tour podiums. Podiums meaning what, 1 through 3?
Right, yep.
Nice. And that lands you in the top, number 5 out of the top 10 players in the last 10 years.
Right, yeah.
That's awesome, man. Did you get any grief from anybody? Like, did you ever get a phone call from like number 11 or like, hey, you know, Nathan, what the hell, man?
I mean, I'm surprised that
it's still early, right? The article came out last week, so I'm sure people are like articulating your emails to you or whatever.
Yeah, and I just left off Jeremy Tracy in favor of his doubles partner too. So I thought maybe I would hear about that, but maybe he hasn't read it yet.
Well, so he was a close 11th.
Yeah.
Say or
yeah, because he won the very last tournament of the year, this Excelling 8 tournament. So I was like, oh yeah, he's right up there now. So
was that a sanctioned tournament though?
No, it wasn't. But
all right.
So some of the tournaments in there aren't completely sanctioned either. Like I'm also including like, you know, Schneider House events, which are not in the NCAA Tour throughout the entire decade. So try to include most of the tournaments I could get results for.
I was talking to Andrew about this, Andrew Hutchinson. To be a full-rounded tour, what about a Q's event?
Yeah, that would be fun. I'd definitely be down for that if somebody organized it.
Right. That's the next part.
But yeah, I would definitely like be in favor of including that on the NCAA Tour. Because I saw that part and I think he had mentioned people would possibly be like not interested in including that in the, you know, the collection of tour points because it's like mostly a fingers tour, but I would be totally in favor of including it in the NCAA Tour standings.
So here's a persuasive, you know, thing you could do, or NCAA, and this is just me just spitballing here. You are required to have at least 1 singles tournament, 1 doubles tournament, and 1 Q's tournament to be, you know, eligible for the, you know, your podium or the NCAA. How about that?
That'd be interesting, yeah.
Well, I guess you couldn't do that if there's only 1 Q's event, right?
We need a couple more, but if we got a couple more, yeah, it seems reasonable.
Because then you would be the most well-rounded Crokinole player out there.
Yeah. And then we need to add more tournament formats like 4-player singles and stuff like that.
Oh, man. Have you played on Jeremy Tracy's 5-hole board yet?
Yeah, I've done it once. It was pretty fun.
That's got some. Obviously, that's never going to come close to getting onto the tour, but like, that's fun to play. And my buddy Dwight from our club, he bought a board from Jeremy that has the 5-hole on it, and playing with, and I bought some cues. We saw that playing with cues on that is like the best way to play that type of game with the negative.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's like if you play with cues, it makes it adds another dynamic to that already. I mean, if you're having a few whiskeys or beers and you're trying to keep the math up, like because we don't have that many 20 holders around the or negative. Yeah, this one's a 20 holder, this one's a negative, and you're not going to keep track of that. But yeah, like I saw that excelling 8 thing that you did on your channel, CrokinoleCentre, and I think that's just great, man. Like that's got to sharpen everybody's game up if you do stuff like that once in a while.
Yeah, I found it. Well, it's very. You have to be super like offensively minded because it almost all comes down to 20 counts at that point because there's 3 opponents to knock your disc off. Like you can't just expect that you can hide behind a disc or behind a peg at any point. So yeah, definitely if you want to just like focus on scoring 20s, it's probably a pretty good game to play.
Was it 1 versus 1? What did you guys do? 1 versus 1, then team? How'd it go?
Yeah, we did 4-player singles and then doubles and then a 2-player singles. But our 2-player singles had like a rule variation in it where your first shot you placed it inside of the 15 circle rather than actually shooting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
would you guys just rotate partners or seats so everyone played everybody in each format?
Yeah.
Geez, how long did that take?
Like 4 or 5 hours, I think.
It's not bad. Did you guys break it all, or do you guys just kept running right through them?
Yeah, I think we had lunch at some point or some food in there.
Nice, man. When so you won your doubles in the Worlds with Mr. Kiffner, was it?
Kiffner, yep.
Now he's a guy that's been around for a long time as well.
Mm-hmm.
And what was it like playing with him?
It's great. Yeah, he's been around. He's one of the few people that has been to every World Championship tournament since 1999. Now, I didn't meet him until the NCAA tour had started. And then even for the first couple of years, I probably didn't know him that well at all. But we formed a doubles partnership when we both decided we were going to go to PEI in 2012. So I was going because that was my first year at university, and I was just finishing up as the PEI Provincial Crokinole Championship was happening. So I went there, and then I said I was going to go there and that I was looking for a partner. So then some of the people in PEI, they're very hospitable there, were trying to find me a partner there. And then Claire Kipfer decided he was going to go. So I was like, yeah, we'll be partners. And then we had a really good first tournament, and then we just decided we'd be partners for every World Championship after that.
And is that your partner for Ontario doubles as well?
No, Claire usually partners up with like somebody from his local club, and then I usually partner with somebody else, usually my mother. Although I partnered up with Connor Ryman in a previous year. So I guess me and Claire usually just play for the World Championships.
Nice, man. You guys took it down 2 years ago.
Yep.
That's awesome. You went to Turkey as well, right?
Hungary? Yeah.
Hungary, excuse me. Yeah, Hungary.
Turkey's next.
Yeah, Turkey's next, right? Yeah, so what was that like?
Man, overwhelming, really. Like, it was pretty unbelievable being there. I think when Jeremy Tracy went there last year, I think there was a few more like English speakers around that year. But yeah, when I went, there was very few. There was only like a couple of guys from Romania who spoke English. There was all the Belgians who spoke English, and then like a couple of Hungarians. So yeah, for the most part, like sometimes people were like coming up to have a conversation, but generally we weren't able to really to converse that much. And then even my doubles partner for that tournament, couldn't talk to at all because she only spoke Hungarian and I only speak English. So yeah, it was overwhelming to like have that atmosphere of playing Crokinole, but being so far away from home and being in the different culture too. So yeah, it was kind of like tough to fathom really, but I mean, in the end, it was a great experience.
Were you asked to go over there by somebody, or did you just like, hey, I'm going to go over there and play this tournament?
Yeah, I think so. I've been in contact with like Daniel Latte, who's like sort of one of the main organizers in the Hungarian Federation, and he had reached out like a few times before asking if you're just like informing us of the tournament and suggesting, if people could come down, that'd be great. Like, here are the details. And I just decided I had an actuarial exam. So I was studying to become an actuary. So I have all these like professional exams to write. And I had one exam, which was right before that tournament. And I decided long before I was going to take like a week vacation right after this exam. And it just corresponded with that tournament. So I was like, yeah, I'm going, take a nice break. And just the timing worked out perfectly. And I thought, yeah, I'm doing it.
That's cool, man. Jeez, that's like a huge endeavor. How did you do over there?
Not great actually. So they had doubles on the first day and singles on the next. Same thing when with this past year when Jeremy Tracy went. So in doubles we actually did pretty well. Me and my partner finished fourth there. My doubles partner is actually it's Clara Schoch, who's actually the mother of Attila and Christian Brslanovic.
Yep.
Which hardcore Crokinole fans will recognize the Brslanovic brothers. But yeah, the next day was the singles, and yeah, I ended up finishing 17th, but it was a three-way tie for the last playoff spot in points, and I actually missed it by 120, which is the like closest I've ever been to not advancing ever. So pretty heartbreaking, but yeah, I just couldn't. I was still like pretty tired from like the time zone change, and yeah, I just couldn't focus enough to play well that day. But so yeah, it was obviously like disappointing, but still a great experience overall.
Yeah, and you went there by yourself? You didn't go there with anybody, and you just went there and got a hotel, went up and started playing Crokinole?
Yep. Yeah, pretty much exactly that.
Wow. Were you? Did you have a lot of weight on your shoulders, like when you went over there to say, "Oh, here's this Canadian, top player from Canada"? Did everybody know that?
Yeah, I did feel the weight because as soon as I told them I was going, Daniel Latte made like a highlight video of me, and so
what an asshole!
Like all the all these great shots, and I would do the exact same thing if he came over. So yeah, just to build up some excitement for it. And people were like genuinely excited. Like I've never signed autographs before, but I got asked numerous times. Like I took pictures with a bunch of people, which is great. Like it was awesome to have that experience. And like, all these people it was remarkable that these people were in some cases, not even English speakers, but who had found the game, like watched all of our stuff, knew all about these players that we have over in the NCAA, and were that like enthused about the game. But yeah, it was obviously a bit awkward too, because it's kind of like being treated like a little bit like a celebrity on a very minor scale. You're just being asked to take like a couple pictures. But yeah, it was a bit strange to have that experience.
No one's asked me to take a picture with them that they weren't forced upon. No, I mean that's what you do though, right? I mean, like you cover it so well and you put so much passion and enthusiasm into it. People are like watching the videos every week or every 2 weeks, however often you put them out, and you can't help but like starting to know the player. Like, oh, here's Walsh playing, I don't know, Hutchinson. You know what I mean? Like you kind of like get to know the players, and especially when when I knew when my club knew that Jeremy, Andrew, and then Ray and Jason Beerling were coming down for the U.S. Open. I'm like, as soon as they signed up, I'm like, guys, start watching film on these guys. Like everybody was watching every one of their matches that they could get their hands on because they wanted to, not that, like we're going to crack their, strategy or whatever, but like just so, it's a great tool. It's a great archive to have to, say, hey, we're playing against these guys. Here's some of their matches. Go watch them play. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I would say that's it's interesting you mentioned that because I did watch a lot of your videos too to figure out when you guys are coming to the World Championships last year. I was like, I'm gonna see what these guys are about here, learn their strategies, and it worked out. I didn't play any of you guys at the last World Championship, so all that research went to nothing. But
well, the research probably showed. A little bit behind you guys, but you'd be surprised now. Honestly, I'm just saying that we're nipping at your guys' heels. That's for sure. There's a lot of.
It's actually one thing. Yeah, I want to mention too is before there was videos and people were watching on YouTube. If you were at the World Championships one year, you actually had like a pretty big advantage over people who were just showing up in another year because they had no idea what the competitive landscape was like. So they would show up to the World Tournament but not know anything about any of the players they were facing or like the particular like shots you could pull off on a Crokinole board. So there used to be like a huge like advantage to anybody who had experience, and now in a way that's sort of wiped away. And now people who are coming in new kind of have an advantage because they get to know some of the players that they see in the videos. But then if they end up facing off against those players, those guys may have no idea who they are. So yeah, it's kind of interesting the way it's developed.
It kind of works. I think it works more to, your guys' advantage if, these guys come to the worlds and they're sitting across, oh shit, I'm sitting across from Nathan Walsh. I can't make a mistake. That's going to put more pressure on this guy over here. You know what I mean? And
yeah.
Because you guys, you cover so well and you guys play so well, and that shows on the board, and everyone's looking up to you guys because you guys are on YouTube. You guys are, very good at like the best in Crokinole. So like you are the benchmark, and then that will be advantage to you a little bit. But just from my experience, we went to the Worlds. Magic Mike and I were partners. We were so nervous sitting down at the World Tournament because like, oh my God, look at all the best Crokinolers are here, and we couldn't get into a rhythm until very late in the doubles. You know what I mean? We just couldn't. We weren't used to the rhythm of like a competitive tournament. Our first tournament was the U.S. Open last year. That was our first Crokinole tournament. So, but yeah, I think the more competitive Crokinole that you play, the more advantage you'll have for sure going into.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, even as you mentioned that, I'm remembering back now too, like some of the early years when I sat down and I played like Joe Fulop or Brian Cook, I knew I wasn't going to win that game. So
probably here, you knew you weren't going to do it, but you might have had an advantage if you didn't know who they were, and then
right,
just played your game like, oh, who's this guy? You're just playing, and you might have won. You never know.
Yeah,
you created all that stuff, dude. All that that hype, that pseudo celebrity Crokinole player. A lot of that has to, comes from your efforts. But what do you like most about the NCAA tour? Like, what's besides playing Crokinole? Like, what else does it provide for everybody?
Nowadays, now sometimes it used to be that at least at the World Championships, you would see some people like you'd develop friendships, and you would see people you'd only see once a year. So that the World Championships is great for that. Just catching up with some people. Now it's gotten for me that I don't really have time to talk to people at the World Championships just because I'm doing some other like volunteering for the tournament. So now the NCAA has become a great way. In some cases, there are people who only go to their local tournament on the NCAA tour. So now I, at the very least, get to catch up with them. So, I've like pretty good relationship with a lot of the people from Belleville, and thankfully, they're running a tournament. I get to go there every year and then catch up with them. Yeah, really, besides Crokinole, it's surprising kind of the amount of friendships that have developed over the years.
Yeah, like relationships and yeah, I mean, dude, that's all that game is just, connecting people, I feel. That's why it's just a crazy, awesome game to be a part of, What is your role in the World Tournament? Are you on a board?
Yeah, I'm in charge of promotions for the World Championships. And then obviously on the day of the tournament, there's obviously a whole bunch of like organizational things that everybody on the committee has to be a part of.
Promotions. So what do you usually do for that?
Yeah, like anything you see online will be from me. So obviously run like the Twitter accounts and social media stuff for the World Championships. Reach out to like reporters, which is usually all the local reporters. So probably if you're not local to the Ontario area, you're not going to see that. But yeah, reach out to a whole bunch of like local news reporters. So some TV stations and then a lot of newspapers. I think last year I was like doing radio interviews the day before for CBC. And yeah, just trying to make sure we sell out every year.
Wow. Is there anybody like, you walk past people in the supermarket going, oh, that's Nathan Walsh.
That's the next barrier. I think, first like being recognized or signing autographs, but then the next barrier to get over is like people to recognize me outside of Crokinole. That would be, that's the next bar to reach.
Oh boy. That day's coming, man. All right. I'm going to pull up some questions from our Facebook people that had questions for you. In the meantime, do you want to get your guitar? Maybe play us a song?
Play no.
Maybe next time you can do that, okay?
I will shout out these board hanging devices, though, that you can find. Probably the same ones that Jeremy Tracy was showing in his interview. I hung these like just this past weekend, and they look pretty sweet.
I think they look great up there. And I was going to ask you, but I just lost my mind in the other questions. But so those are – what boards are they? I see a World Crokinole board up there. And what's the other one?
Yeah, this was actually when I was in Hungary. So this is from Zsolt Rimar, who's the main board manufacturer for the Hungarian Crokinole Federation. So he told me when I got there, he's like, I'm going to send you back like a board. And I was like, oh, that's very kind of you, but no, like, and he was like, no, and he was determined, persistent that he was going to gift this to me. So yeah, it's the same board that they would use for all their Hungarian tournaments. It's a beautiful board. I was a little bit worried about hanging it and screwing up the board, but so I was very careful with it. But yeah, it turns out great, and yeah, it's a pretty cool gift to have.
And those are the wall mounts that Jeremy has?
Yes. Yeah.
So you got to screw that one in yourself, both of them?
Yep.
Oh boy. I wouldn't for me, I wouldn't do that, but because I knew I'd screw it up.
Well, the wall mounting device, I might be related to the guy who makes them, so I had confidence that they would work.
Oh no, I'm not talking about the device itself. I'm talking about me screwing in if the board maker didn't do it, like me screwing in the plate on the back of it correctly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I was a little bit worried too, but it turned out nice.
I would fuck that up big time. All right, let's see some YouTube questions. This one's from Josh from the Extra Pint Crokinole Club in Texas. He says, describe the equipment and software setup. I think we already did that. How did you make your scoreboard graphic? We already went over that. Any suggestions or guidance for those of us who want to make videos of club play?
I mean, have fun. But yeah, try to get that camera set up in a nice spot that you can actually see both the board and the player faces as well. I think initially when I was doing them, I was only focusing on the board, so I wasn't really worried about the camera angle for seeing the players' faces. But over the years, it's become obvious that like player reactions and emotions are like a decent part of the entertainment value associated with a lot of the games.
Yes, I definitely agree about that. Okay, so this one's from Andrew Hutchinson. A few years ago, Nathan infamously pronounced the demise of the game of Crokinole. Please ask him, considering the growth in the game he has witnessed over the last 5 years, where he predicts the game, and will it be in 10 years' time or 25 years' time? Where's this game going to be in 10 years' time?
I don't know how we can know. I mean, yeah, it's
Give me two views. An optimistic view and then like a pessimistic view.
so the pessimistic view is the one I'm a pessimist, so I usually go with this one. But for all the momentum Crokinole has, like, it is still volunteer driven. So you, in a lot of cases, only have like key volunteers that are dependent on whether or not a tournament runs. And that goes for like any tournament, even the World Championships, where if you lose like a couple key volunteers, like that tournament will be in trouble. So in some cases, like, I think in the next 5 years, even with like the growth of Crokinole and like tournament attendance going up, there'll be like a couple tournaments which we played in for years that probably won't be around, just because they don't have the volunteers to run it. But I mean, the optimistic view is that we're going to see like a lot of new clubs, particularly in the United States. I think like that seems to be where most of the excitement is coming from, and England, I should say, as well. So optimistically, like, we might have like sort of a United States tour and an England tour that would be pretty fun to go to, pretty fun to be a part of. So I'm hopeful that that's where we're headed.
Just a sneak peek on that. Myself and Nick Osmore, Vermont, Philly, we're at the very beginning stages, and we just have to wait for this Crokinole, or not Crokinole, this pandemic, this worldwide pandemic to loosen up, and for planning purposes. But we are planning to have an NCAA, or not an NCAA, Northeast tour this year of American Crokinole up here with our own points models and stuff like that.
That'd be awesome.
So hopefully, I didn't speak too soon, but we already, we're discussing it. We already had a few things already planned out. But yeah, so you're right on your optimism there. Good job.
Well, it's coming by faster than I thought it would.
That's right. See what happens when you're optimistic about things, Nathan?
Yeah, sometimes they go well.
All right. Another one from Andrew. Please ask him if he's planning on making any significant changes to his Crokinole media empire. Currently, he has a blog / website, videos, and Twitter. Is he planning on expanding on this media?
I don't know what else. I have no like interest in doing anything else, but that's because I don't have any other ideas, and presently none that I've decided would be a good idea to steal from other people. So
interviews before and after the game.
That would be good. Yeah.
Come on.
I need players to convince me to do them rather than me trying to convince them to do it.
Let's have them sign something, or not sign, but just say, hey, if you make the finals after the A pool or whatever is established, you make the finals, would you be okay with me interviewing you or something before? And if not, it doesn't matter. You're still going to get interviewed. That's how I would do with it. Dude, Nathan, thank you so much for hanging out with us. Thanks for taking time out of your day. Please continue to keep on the great work that you do with CrokinoleCentre, and I hope that we see you in those videos in the finals in the future.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you too for spurring up so much interest in your area. Crokinole is a good game, so glad that it's spreading around.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers.